Let's have a conversation about FOMO, or the fear of missing out. Like the name implies, it's a phenomenon where someone is afraid of missing a certain event for it may be gone forever. Almost everyone has experienced this in some way, and nowhere is it more common than in the gaming industry, though mostly unintentional. Some companies have been using it as a very effective sales strategy these days. So let us take a closer look at the fear of missing out, and how much it affects our choices and lives as a whole when we play games. First, let me quickly explain why I've been gone. For the last month or so I've had exams, and I'm happy to announce that I have graduated, so I'll be able to start studying something soon. Also, I now have a PC, I can officially play games on more than 15 FPS, a real game changer one might say. Anyways, let's get on with the video before I terrorize your ears with more awful jokes. When you think about the fear of missing out, your thoughts will quickly drift towards very extreme examples. And don't worry, we'll get to those soon. But some things have been very normalized to the point where we almost forget that they're a form of FOMO in the first place. Something simple like an update and being able to experience a game in a specific state, before a major update or a nerf to a weapon or strategy or a boost, or whatever. And there are many more examples of this. Another great example is a game's release day. There is something special about experiencing a game for the first time and knowing that you could be one of the first to do a certain thing, like beat a boss or explore an area or find an Easter egg. There is something special about playing a game knowing everyone else is there at the same time. No guides, no tutorials, just exciting stuff all around. And there is something special about being able to look back and say, I was there. Many people form a sort of connection with the game and are more likely to keep playing after that. So now it is time we start talking about the real stuff. Events. One of the best ways to have people keep playing your game is by introducing limited time events. There could be a special quest or some limited amount of items, and maybe even a collaboration with another game, celebrity or franchise. Naturally, the key to keeping people around is by making these things available for a while but not forever. Some things will be gone forever, others will be back every year like a holiday, but you can still change what's available every time the event comes back to have you stay even longer. Another kind of event that has been popping up a lot is seasons, which usually take a bit more time. They change every 3 months or so and follow a certain theme. And that's still fairly tame because what if they started monetizing those things? And this is how FOMO can really be used as a dark pattern. Dark patterns are techniques that are often very anti-player, but will greatly benefit the developer, this time with cash and player retention. This is one of the worst kinds of dark patterns because it allows you to get away with other dark patterns. Ever heard of the Battle Pass? I'm sure you have. During a season there will often be 2 paths of rewards, one is free and one requires a battle pass to access those rewards. In games like Sea of Thieves for example, you get a lot more for free and some special cosmetics or something from the paid version. But there are way more games that do this the other way around, where you get barely anything for free, so if you want anything out of your season you better get that pass. Everyone that did buy the pass will of course be equipping their stuff immediately, amplifying that feeling of you missing out on something. One game that is very well known for this is Fortnite. They also have a history of dark patterns. Another thing that developers tend to do is adding discounts. For a limited time, it's only blah blah amount of money, that sort of nonsense. These things often mean a lot less than you might think. Some other games have the discount forever to trick new players into buying it to kickstart their accounts. Another way to trick new players is by offering some kind of bundle at the beginning of a playthrough with useless items that you will outgrow quickly. Some games offer bundles for other one-time milestones to repeat that tactic. And there are many more ways to monetize these things. And once you've spent money, you're not as likely to quit anymore. Back to the more innocent stuff for a second. Even some of the most innocent looking games will trick you using daily tasks and quests. This is more common than you might think. It's often used by things that aren't even games, like Duolingo or Snapchat, which require you to keep a streak going. Mobile games are also very common offenders of this tactic. Another very good example is Animal Crossing. This is in many Animal Crossing games, but is most egregious in New Horizons. Do you know how many things there are in this game that qualify as daily tasks? Well, here's a short list that took me 2 minutes. Fossils on random places, as well as gyroids. There's always a message in a bottle. The possibility of the NPCs Gulliver and Gullivar. Brewster's Cafe. You always get an emote from a villager. Just anything with villagers in general. All different shop catalogs that rotate. Vendors. Possible campers. And so much more, because that's only the daily stuff that I could think of in a minute or two. There are also things that aren't daily, like KK, for example, in the original Animal Crossing. And I need to mention that the same way you can gain stuff after logging in, there are games that just punish you when you don't log in. Like letting plants grow excessively that you're now gonna have to take time to remove. Or, for example in Animal Crossing, cockroaches in your house. Or even worse, villagers that guilt trip you because they haven't seen you in so long. But like I said, these are still very mild and honestly just clever game design. Alright, enough innocent stuff. It's time we talk about everyone's favorite genre, gacha games. The best way to explain is by taking Genshin Impact as an example. This game has a wishing mechanic to get rare, featured, playable characters with the 5-star rarity. There used to be 1 featured character, but I'm pretty sure now there are 2. Obviously they don't stay forever and they keep adding so much stuff that the chance of your favorite character coming back is very slim. But gacha games work a bit more scummy than that, because that's basically just a loot box. Wishing is done using special items that can be bought using the in-game currency of Primogems. There are only a few reliable ways of getting Primogems, like daily tasks, exploring, and special events and quests. The amount you get from these are usually not a lot. You get 60 in total for daily tasks, and you need 160 for one singular wish. The game also has a hidden system that will automatically give you a 5-star at some point, but that is at 90 wishes. So that means that the amount of gems you need to get a 5-star is a maximum of 14,400 gems. In other words, you need to start preparing weeks if not months in advance. But it gets worse. If you get your 5-star, it isn't always the featured 5-star character. If your previous character was a featured one, you now have a 50% chance to get the new featured one, or a 5-star from a pre-selected pool of characters. The one after that will always be a featured one. In other words, there is a chance you'll have to do all that grinding twice. I just realized that the entire concept of a grindy game is built on the idea of FOMO. If there is a game that takes a lot of time, people are going to be more competitive in trying to get to the top, especially if there is a leaderboard. And just the idea of missing a day or two and possibly falling behind, no matter how small the difference is, if any, it is more than enough to keep you playing. And this is the point where I feel like I need to warn you. If you think about it, what is the fear of missing out really? The constant need to play a game and constantly thinking about falling behind or missing a certain thing, it all comes down to a fancy word for addiction, doesn't it? But not just an addiction, it's one without the dopamine boost. It's a prison that forces you to shackle yourself, distance yourself from people and the outside world for the sake of ones and zeros that will ultimately become irrelevant. How sad it may be, these things will all fade into obscurity at some point. Don't force yourself to keep playing a game in a way that you might not enjoy anymore. If you feel like playing this way, then by all means do. This isn't meant for you then. But I'm sure some of you feel like this. Not sure if I've said this, but I'm also guilty of this. FOMO is something that needs to be talked about more, considering how much it is being abused to make you feel forced to keep playing and possibly spiral down into an addiction. It's not always this serious, of course, but it can be, and that's bad enough for me. So what games are the worst when it comes to FOMO? Well, nearly any game that is online at this point, especially live service games. Live service games are so easy to abuse and kind of corrupt in a way. They rarely work. Most of the time it's just an excuse to make you spend money, so be wary of those. Almost any game has it in some way. One of, if not the worst offenders, is Roblox of all things. All those simulator games are extremely grind focused, often have loot box elements, and are very obviously made for children, possibly getting them into this FOMO mindset very early. But if we stop playing games without or with the FOMO stuff, there is almost nothing left. So please just be careful and aware of these practices while playing, and don't do shit you don't want to do. And if you feel like you do, play a game that doesn't do that and immerse yourself in their world for a bit. It will be an eye-opener, I can guarantee you that. Well, that got a little weird at the end, but that's alright. I want to thank you for watching. It means more than I could ever accurately describe in words. But it really does mean a lot, seriously. But with that, I bid thee farewell.